Alright, welcome to the rest of my life. I'm Lance Ash, that's my name, and I'm heading to work. You know, I tell you, I hate my name still. I've gotten used to it, but when I was a little kid, I really hated it. And because other kids made fun of it, it was unusual. And, I don't know what. I saw somebody on TV with a name that I thought would be good, and I told my mother I want to change. This is third grade. I told my mother I want to change my name. She goes, "Well, what do you want to change it to?" And I said, "Clyde." Oh my God! In my memory, it seems that James Coburn was the actor that played the Clyde character that I saw, but I may be wrong. I'm not sure. Oh my God! All right, let's see what we got on the. Hold on a second. All right, let's see what we got in the list on the bag here. All right, number one, we have the posthumously released Badlands album Dusk, which is basically just demos intended for the never released third album. Faster Pussycat's second record, Wake Me When It's Over. Then Mondo Generator, Cocaine Rodeo. Mondo Generator is a side project by the original bassist for Queens of the Stone Age. Then we have an album by the band Yellow, Stella. This is one of two albums they released that contain the big hit, Oh Yeah. And then we have an album by the stoner band Sons of Otis, Songs for Worship. Then we have, what is this? Let's see. Oh, we have Donald Fagen's Sunken Condos album. Then we have George Winston's Summer album. And then we have the only album ever released by the band Talk Show. Talk Show is basically Stone Temple Pilots with a different singer. All right, now that's out of the way. All right, little update. Over the weekend, we got my daughter moved out into her new apartment. She's been living with us for 4 months while she's been in between apartments. And it was a pain in the ass. But at least her junk is out of the house. Anyway, I hope she's okay in the new place. Hold on a second. Gotta get into traffic here without getting hit. Okay, there we go. That's better. Alright, topics. Number one. This is an anecdote from when I was a little kid, little bitty kid. This is probably second grade. First or second grade, something like that. Because it was when we lived in the one-story house on the other side of town. As I've mentioned before, I didn't know shit about sports as a kid. Had no interest in them. Still don't have any interest in sports. But, you know, all my older cousins were normal people, so they knew about sports. Anyway, we had some kind of gathering over at that house one day. All my extended family, my dad's side of the family came over, so all these cousins. And we kids had some sort of put together baseball game in the yard. And my cousin Lamar, who was just a natural athlete, I guess he was in charge. He's about 7 or 8 years older than I am, I think. Probably 8 years older, I think. Anyway, laid out the bases, and I had never played baseball before, and I didn't know anything about it. Just we're playing a fun game with the cousins. That's. All right. So I had no idea that your starting point is called home plate. Okay? So we get into a situation where I'm on third base, and I don't know who was at bat, but they hit the ball, and now, so everybody's shouting at me what to do. Run for home. Run to home base. So I'm confused. I'm like, I thought they were telling me, we don't want you around anymore. Go back to the house. So they're yelling and yelling and yelling, run for home. And I finally just burst out crying and went running back to the house. And so they have to come into the house and explain to me, this is how the game works. This is what it's called. So anyway. Alright, next. Alright, next thing on the list. I want to mention, I said I brought that third album by the band Badlands. Badlands was a metal band from the late 80s, ostensibly roped into that whole so-called hair metal thing. The term hair metal is really such a vague term. It really doesn't mean anything. There were a lot of bands at that time period, but that sort of metal. You might want to say pop metal, but really Zeppelin-ish. I don't know what to say, but anyway, Badlands was one of the better bands of that era. It was Jake Lee, who was at one time Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player, and Ray Gillen was the singer. Ray Gillen had been Black Sabbath's singer briefly. He sang on a tour, and then he recorded an album with them, but they decided to erase his vocals and replace them with Tony Martin, who had worked with them several times. And I've got both versions of that record, and basically they're pretty much the same. I prefer Ray Gillen's vocals. Ray Gillen had a really great voice. Anyway, the band broke up apparently because there was a big division in the band between, should we pursue the kind of music that we want to play no matter what, or should we go in a commercial direction and make the record label happy? So that's an eternal debate. So the band broke up, which I think is a shame, because they were really good. The lyrics were, as is the case with a lot of these types of bands, the weak point, because they were stupid, meaningless lyrics. But I was listening to the first album the other day, and it's so good. And I'll tell you, I used to get this magazine. When I first started playing the guitar, I thought, well, a good thing for me to do would be to get one of these guitar magazines, a subscription, and that will help me, because they used to have transcriptions of songs in there that you could help you learn to play things. I never really paid much attention to them. I never made much of an effort of learning other people's songs. But before Badlands' first record came out, they had an interview with Jake Lee in which he described all the songs. And And that really always colored my opinion of the album, because I've always, when I'm listening to it, I would think about his descriptions. There's a song on there called Rumbling Train, and in the interview he said that the guitar solo was just done in one take. He just did it. And that always impressed me, because that is such a great guitar solo. Anyway, the second record, they replaced the drummer with somebody else, and the second record's good too in its own way. And I'm not that familiar with the one I brought tonight. I'm going to give it another shot at some point. Anyway, there you are. Next, I already mentioned my daughter moved out. So we'll move on. Next topic is called Obscure Artists, etc. And I'm going to try to talk about what that title means. Can't remember what got me to do this, but a couple weeks ago I went to the university library and I checked out some books on interior design. I can't remember what the exact motivation was, but I love looking at interiors from the 70s. And I got a couple of books. And one of the things that's so interesting about looking at these photographs of interior people's houses from back then is the artwork that's on the walls. Because they're all rich people's. They don't show regular people's houses. But the artwork on the walls and the pictures is really interesting. So my wife and I were looking at going through these books with the intention of getting them looked at so we can return them and get something else. A lot of them were not that good. I just grabbed them in a hurry and got out of there. But the other night we were looking at one, and they did us the book did us the favor of telling us who some of the artists were who did the artwork in the rooms. So I'm writing the names down, right? And these are people I'd never heard of. And after we got done with the book, I got online and looked up some of these people up, and it's just amazing how many things there are to learn, how many more artists, visual artists, musical artists there are to find out about. It's never ending. And anyway, I don't think I brought the list with me of the names. But anyway, the next day I had to go, and this is the next topic. Next topic is called office art. So it kind of blends, these two topics blend together. The next day, I had to go get some blood drawn for lab work for an upcoming appointment. So I go over to the place. It's connected with the hospital. And I'm waiting in the waiting room. And I've noticed the artwork on the walls in this place before. And I have yet to figure out what the appropriate term for this type of art is. Some people have called it business art, office art. I used the term artwork for waiting rooms when I was researching this, and then that seemed to get a good bit of success in looking this up. But anyway, so I'm walking around the waiting room looking at the artwork that's up, and it's totally generic, right? And it's clearly by the same, some of it's by the same artist, because they had 3 watercolors up that were clearly all by the same person, but they were just stripes without any meaning or content. And then they had in each cubicle where they register you, they had a different little framed piece of artwork, all by the same person. And it's gestural abstraction. And then they had some sort of metal sculpture things high up on the walls that were flowers. And just decorative. Maybe decorative art's the right way to look it up. Because it's not really fine art. None of the stuff is signed. And my fascination with this type of work goes hand in hand with my fascination with minor artists. Because it's easy to get a boner over major artists. Rembrandt, Bacon, but these minor artists are, to me, just as interesting. Maybe because I'm just as influenced by illustration as I am fine art. But what's fascinating to me is a lot of these people have been dead 40 years. You look them up, and you wonder, did they really make a living at this? How could they possibly have sold enough work to make a living? Did they teach on the side, or were they stuck shucking mail like I am? And the stuff that's not signed, you just wonder, who did this work? Where's the apparatus for these people to get their work into the hands of somebody who's then going to transfer it to architects, builders, construction people, the people who finish out these buildings? It's very weird. Shit. So I'll bring something up in connection with that. Oh, I know what it was. When I was a kid, and we would go on family vacations, we pretty much always stayed in Holiday Inns. I don't know why, but that was just a thing. And back in the 70s, in Holiday Inns, there were always 2 beds in each room, and on the wall over each bed was a painting, framed painting, clearly the work of the same person, and usually the same theme. A lot of the time, it's like fishing boats docked at the pier, that kind of thing. And they were almost all of them done in this don't know the right term, this sort of sketchy style that was popular from the late 50s or maybe early 60s up until mid 70s maybe. And again, I wonder who were the artists who did these things, because usually they were signed, and a lot of the time you couldn't make out the signature. If I was a millionaire, I would collect a lot of this third-rate work, because it's interesting. It's just as interesting as the people who are acclaimed. A lot of the time, the people who are acclaimed, the people who make it to the name recognition level, they just either knew somebody or they were willing to give somebody a blowjob. It's all just who you know. That's what it really is. And I don't know. It's a matter of luck. That's why I don't worry about it. I do the kind of artwork that I want to do without any regard as to whether it's going to be marketable, sellable, saleable. Because you might as well. You might as well do what the hell you want to do, because you could pursue the supposed standards of popular acceptance all you want and still never make it. Oh Lord, it's a lot lot of fun to get online and look at these weird, bizarre old artwork. Well, I was going to drag the episode out, but I don't have anything else to say, really. Didn't get as much done this weekend as I thought I was going to. This painting I'm doing is a pain in the ass. It's two people sitting in a car, and doing the car is proving extremely difficult. Because the car is supposed to be orange colored, but you want to get the right shading and have it still be shiny orange enamel on metal. Anyway. Oh, God. Oh, I'll tell you one more thing before I go. So, I started writing novel a couple weeks ago. And I knew I've written for so long now that I don't have any worries that I'll be able to do it, or that I don't know what I'm doing. I know the drill, and I knew when I got started that it would be awkward at first, but then there would come a time when you slide into the routine of it. And last week, I wrote a page at work, and when I got done, I just felt this wonderful feeling come over. This feeling of not just relief, but of satisfaction. And I just felt like, yes, this is great. Because back when I worked in Athens, I had a routine down. I wrote 2 pages a day, and I drew my old online comic strip, and it was just like a machine turning it out. And when I stopped all that, and when I got uprooted, I was really thrown to the wolves for a while. I really got lost my way for a while. And now I'm slowly getting back to where I was, and it's just such a wonderful feeling. Alright, I think that's about it. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.